Hello and welcome to another episode of Colivers Club. In this episode, we are going to talk with Jeanne. She is one of the most famous co-living community builders and managers. And we met her in Banks from Nomad Fest, and we were talking with different co-living owners and co-living operators about the different challenges that co-livings can face.
And she also has organized a lot of pop-ups, co-living pop-ups, and she is honestly one of the experts in regarding community managing for co-living. So we are very happy that she is here, and we hope you guys enjoy.
Hello, welcome everybody to another episode of Colivers Club. I'm your host Cesar Alberca, and I'm here with Jeanne Fontaniere. She is the host and community manager of Chateau Coliving in France. Hello, Jeanne, how are you?
Hi, Cesar. Thanks for the introduction. I'm good. And you?
Very good, yeah. I'm here in a studio, which I happened to stumble upon in Alcorcón, my hometown. So yeah, that's why the background is cool and the audio is nice, which is something that doesn't happen too often with this podcast since I'm recording with a laptop.
Awesome. As you can see, I have an Airbnb kind of background. So
Yeah, no, it's a chroma, it's a green screen, so we can put
exactly.
something behind. You have been a host and community manager for Chateau Coliving. Can you tell us about your experience and what is the day to day?
Of course. Yeah, I've been working at Chateau Coliving for a bit more than 2 years now. I arrived for what was supposed to be a 3 month experience as a volunteer, just organizing the events during the weekend. I had a full time job at the time, and we kept on extending, and now I'm working part-time for the chateau. So half of the year I'm on spot, which is the day-to-day is varies a lot because it depends on the needs of the guests that are here, the colivers. It also depends on what the chateau decided to do this day. I'm sure with Katia you discussed about the property itself and about how much how many different things can happen. And the rest of the year, I'm working remotely for Chateau, for sales, marketing, communication, still a little bit of community. Um, but yes, the day to day, I guess it's mostly when I'm on spot, and it can go from anything as or helping the organization of a lunch to yes, deciding on whatever step we have to take depending on the leak that we have or the what's happening in the garden can really vary.
You work on creating a community. How do you do that? In three simple steps, yeah? No, I'm
In
kidding.
simple steps, I wish it was a simple thing. Community is it's something that is at the end of the day kind of fragile. Like it can evolve very rapidly. It can change from one day to another. This just one different coliver can change the entire dynamic. I feel like the role of a community manager is not to help people too much. It's to enable a lot of things. The goal is that people feel like they can take the community in charge, that they're all involved, that they all have a specific role in it. And community happens, for me at least, it happens in more in the small moments than in the big gesture or the big events or the big things. It's all about rituals and kind of unspoken rules. When you arrive in a community, you feel it instantly. Oh, am I gonna like these people? Am I gonna fit in? We all have these little fears when we arrive in some kind of community setting, but we all have a role and a part to play, and the community manager only helps people to find what is this role and how they can put it into action.
Because what's the difference between being a host and a community manager?
Well, when I say community manager, people always think about social media. I feel like the host part is really more of an operational part, check-ins, check-outs, and taking care of like answering questions and all these things. Community management part is more about dealing with the conflicts and dealing with the little interactions every day, making sure that people are still having the best time that they can have. We all come in a community with different goals and different mindsets as well. Like some people want to have this kind of FOMO and want to experience it all, and it's my role in the role of community manager to make sure that that can happen. And some people really need their space and their privacy and to have as much alone time as they can, and it's also your role to make sure that there is nothing in the way of that, that nothing is gonna spoil one or the other experience.
Do you think all co-livings need a host, or at least the figure of a host?
Mm, I would say so. It's a tricky question in the sense that every community is different, and some are self-organized, and it works really well. I'm not sure that co-livings having communities that stay together for a shorter amount of time, which is a few weeks, maybe a few months. I would say that is something that is needed. If it's a co-living that is more for longer term, then it's a bit different. Things can be self-organized, but it's still, I would say it's necessary. And I can't say it because this is what I do today. It's just that my experience in co-livings as well, like I've been a guest at co-livings before working in one, and I still visit a lot of places. There is definitely a different vibe, and the community manager sometimes is and the host sometimes is the owner as well, is the founder, which works as well. I don't know how durable it is for the peace of mind of the founder or owner and how long it can last, but it can also happen. The important thing for me is that there is someone or multiple people that are kind of reference points for the guest, for the co-livers.
The host is totally necessary, no? Like someone to show you the house and even present you to the other people, no? And I think that's also what sets apart hotel or a hostel to a co-living, right? Someone that enables you to do these cool things, to organize these dinners or these day trips or things like this.
Yes, it's never the same. Like, ideally, I would like that people don't need me. They don't need me to organize a dinner. And ideally, the community is people are close enough, they are confident enough, they feel good enough in the community that they can do that by themselves. And this is really, it sounds counterproductive, but this is really the ideal. I know my job is done when people feel comfortable enough to do things by themselves, and this doesn't happen. This sometimes it can happen naturally, but you need people that put their souls into it, and often it comes from, yeah, the founder or the owner that sets the values and the of the community. But then the host or community manager, which can be the same person, really make sure that they are working on a day-to-day basis in the co-living.
Yeah, so you kind of work in the shadows, no? Like people just happen to have these amazing organizational skills, but it's just really you, no? Like kind of enabling them to be able to come up with these plans and to execute them.
It's part of it. It's part of it. Yeah, I feel like it's a teamwork at the end of the day. The co-livers and the community manager, but it's definitely, yeah, as you said, a shadow job. Ideally, they wouldn't realize that they need that. You know,
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. You really don't want to open a co-living, and I was very interested on why, because I think most people on the audience, including myself, now will dream about opening a co-living. I'm wondering why.
Yes, I think when I first visited a co-living, I was like, "Oh yeah, I would love to open my own. I would love to." Now, first, I realize how much work and how much of a responsibility it is to have a co-living and have to manage a space. I only do a small part of the co-living of what's happening in the co-living, and I see how much work it is. So I don't think that's something for me now, at least. And also, co-living, it's really an industry that is all about collaboration. I feel like there are already so many offers, so many space. Like, it's every day I feel like there is a new co-living space that is opening, that I don't feel like the market needs another one. From me specifically, I feel what is needed is more things that connect the people, connect the co-livings, maybe things that are more pop-ups, like those kind of offers I could see myself doing, but opening a fixed co-living space today, yeah, it's not. And I'm very admirative of people that do it.
Yeah, no, no, it's for sure something that is complicated, and of course, no, we don't really see what's behind it.
Mm.
So yeah, I think it's probably wise to be cautious at least about it. But you might not want to open a co-living soon or in the future. But you also do other projects, right? You've been collaborating with a project called Nomad Trail. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, Nomad Trail. It's a project that was born during Bansko Nomad Fest last year, which was an amazing event to bring a lot of nomads together, but also a lot of companies and co-livings and that operate for the nomads in general. So it was a really interesting event. And on the last day, I met up for a very simple coffee with a few other people. Some were co-living operators, some were representing regions or had projects on their own. And we just met up with this idea to be like, oh, let's organize some kind of trail that links multiple co-livings. That was the thing that was like, okay, we have coffee just to talk about that. And in a few hours, there was this project that was built that is called Nomad Trail. And the goal is to organize trails that go from one co-living to another, starting in Europe, in a more sustainable and in a more sustainable way, but also in a way that is more affordable. So the goal is really to have a group of people, of 10, 15 people that travel together from one place to another, from 3 months, 6 months. It can be also shorter term trips that we call trails. I was working on the early stage project, and now the team is actually meeting this weekend in Switzerland to plan the year and to plan the future trail. So if people want to know more, they can sign up on the website and just see the upcoming trails and everything that is going to happen this year. It's still the early stage.
Yeah, it's a cool idea, I think, no? And I think this will happen more often. And also we've seen with the pop-up co-livings and ideas, no? Do you think we're going to see more of that or less in the future?
I feel like we'll definitely see more. Each co-living spaces, the ones that have been around for a while, most of the nomads that travel from co-living to co-living or that don't have a home base or these things, they already know them, right? They've been to the main ones in Europe, they've tried a few in Asia, they've maybe explored in South America, which the offer is not quite developed the same way we see co-livings in Europe today. So for these targets, people I think are starting to realize that we need more themes, we need things that are more out of the ordinary, that are like kind of a differential factor. There is kind of a strong identity now in co-livings in Europe, and at least that's what most are trying to do, so that people know what to expect when they go. They know they're going to have a great community, a great space, a great workspace, all the things. But we see the need for novelty. It's always, that's what we're nomads. That's why people are nomads, right? They're chasing this constant novelty, excitement. Um, so we've seen those past years things like remote year and Wi-Fi tribe and all those pop-up kind of things. But even now, the co-livings are organizing their own. We've seen Chateau did one last year, the wellness pop-up. I see Nine Co-living doing a few in different countries as well. So I feel like we'll see many, many more. And it's also, as we said, much more. It's much easier to organize a pop-up co-living than to have an actual co-living. So I feel it's an industry that is going to keep growing.
Yeah, I also heard that in Chateau you guys organized the World School pop-up co-living.
Yes, last year it was organized in April. We might organize more. It was a month for families that homeschool or have their kids in a school that is not fixed. And usually they were travelers, and this organization made families meet up in different space. So for a month they met up in Chateau. It was a really, really interesting event to have. It was completely different than what we used to do. We used to welcome families in the chateau, but usually they come on an individual basis. So either it's just one family or two. but they always mixed with the rest of the individuals that have booked. So it was very interesting to have only families and see the dynamics that developed. It was really interesting. It created kind of almost a small village where you had the kids on one side, the teenager on the other ones, and the parents that were able to do their things because they knew that the teenagers were together and enjoying, and it was a really, really interesting dynamic.
The way you create community, it differs from creating a community for digital nomads other than creating a community for families. What are the main differences?
I wasn't here the entire month, but it's definitely different. At the end of the day, you're still dealing with people. What is different is the fact that each family has its own dynamic, which you have to take into account as well. Like taking a group of individuals and then taking a group of small groups is a bit different in how you foster and create that community sense. They also, as each family brings their own value, their own habits and rituals, it multiplies. It's very interesting to see because then the community grows faster and stronger, I would say, in a very, very short amount of time.
Nice. And do you think in the future also we'll see even more families traveling together?
I hope. I hope we'll see all the generation of the nomads that today is traveling on their own or in relationships that keep doing it if they want as families. There's not that many structures or offers. There are a few that exist for traveling families, um, and I really hope it's something that is so valuable for the kids, in my opinion, and for the how the family grows as well. We learn so much when we're traveling and working as we do it. I mean, as nomads, we learn so much about ourselves every day, and we are constantly experiencing new things. I feel like it's very beneficial for a family as well. There is probably things that will be different in terms of offers because there are different needs. Family will need something maybe to go slower, maybe to have access to different products and services. Maybe there we'll see a lot of co-created things. I, I feel like it's happening. I saw recently in an ad for, I don't know how it was called, kind of a self-organized village. I don't know if you've seen this movie with DiCaprio, The Beach. This movie where like they move to this remote place in Thailand on the water, and they create their own self-sufficient community. I think there are some things that are being replicated right now in South
With
America.
DiCaprio?
No, I mean maybe.
Oh, come
Maybe
on.
both.
Oh, oh man, if DiCaprio was involved, yes. But
Then
no,
yes,
no.
huge.
No, no. What do you think Colivers need to change in order to foster these families?
You need to adapt. The place would need to adapt because families require a bit more privacy, require to make the distinction between what the parents need, what the kids needs. So there is adjustment to made. In Chateau, we have a dedicated building for it that allows people to be part of the community, but also to have their own space at the end of the day. You, as we said, it's a group of small groups, and those small groups, each family unit needs also to have a space for themselves. So I think that a lot of co-livings don't do it also because of that, and you don't need to do this, you don't do the same things. When it's only family, activities are going to be different. You also need to plan much more things. Kids or teenagers are total different logistics, but at the end of the day, if they are being homeschooled or if there are like partnerships with local schools or local universities and things like that. I think that's something Katja from Chateau is working on our side. But I think outside of all these elements, any co-livings can do it. But it needs to be part of the values as well and what you want. Each co-living has its own soul and identity and values. And if it's not the main point or if it's not something that is part of the values, it's also totally okay.
And also, I think that if this were to happen, a network of co-livings where you will homeschool or even have like a pedagogic person, right, or a teacher. I think it will also add a lot of value to the families because then you
Completely.
will have an international education program, right? So yeah, that's super cool.
There is a lot to do for families. There is a lot to do for individuals. It's been done. It's actually it's happening today. For families, there is a lot of things to there are a lot of things to develop, which can be, as you say, completely different services. Having babysitters on spot, having yeah, as hope maybe it will happen one day because some kind of school. I know it happens for pop-up programs and those kind of things, but yes, it would be awesome. Same for co-livings for seniors or for different, like I think there is one existing. I don't know if we can really say it's co-living, but there is one existing for single moms in Paris, and it's so that they are not feeling alone. They're part of a community. There are like services for the kids, things like that. It's not targeted for traveling and homeschooling families. It's more for people that have a more of a traditional lifestyle and like going to work and living in Paris in this case. But it's very interesting to see all the segments that can
Yeah, there's a lot of potential there. And I think this is the right industry to do it because I feel like there's so much collaboration between co-livings. How do you think this compares to other industries? Are there any other industries where this happens, this type of collaboration?
it's very interesting to see how collaboration is the most important things for co-living owners in general and for this industry. I don't know if any can compare. Maybe some I can think of like some cultural or artistics um, kind of sectors where there are a lot of collaborations happening between artists or between writers or these kind of things. Probably a lot of industries exist, but in this case, it's really you can feel that it's really the core. One of the core values of the co-living industry. It's about living together, right? So it's also about working together, collaborating, and creating services that are actually helping people live together. So it makes sense that it's one of the core values. I wouldn't say it exists in a lot of others, but you might think of some that I don't have in mind right now.
No, no, no. Well, I mean, for example, in software development, we have the open source community, which is all about collaboration and things like this. This is the only thing that kind of reminds me, but industry as a whole, not really. I wanted to ask you, how do people that haven't heard of the term co-living or know what it is, how do you think they perceive co-livings?
It's very tricky. Some I would say my personal experience is that I didn't know what a co-living was. I didn't know what being a nomad was. I just knew that I didn't have an apartment, was looking for a place, hopefully to meet cool people. That's how I found out about co-living. It's really by chance. I feel like a lot of people that are today digital nomadism is really more broadly known. People know about it a bit more, so they might know what to be a digital nomad is, and then they look for accommodation for digital nomad and they find co-living. And then co-living has a lot of definitions, or at least for the same definition there are a lot of different products and a lot of different offers, and you would go to something called a co-living that is actually a residential place where there is no really community or where people are staying and living in the same city, and then you will feel like that all co-livings are terrible because you ended up in one that is not made for you or that is not targeting you. I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions because of these kind of things, because people don't really know what is behind the definition of co-livings, and also it's becoming such a trendy word.
Yeah,
um,
it's difficult, but if you want to find a curated list of co-livings, you should check out MapMelon, which is the
Definitely.
sponsor of this podcast.
Are you a remote worker or digital nomad looking for the perfect co-living experience? Meet MapMelon, your all-in-one platform for booking community-focused co-livings with exclusive deals and promotions. With co-livings all around the world, MapMelon offers a lot of options for every budget and lifestyle. You can also track your friends' plans and share your own and never miss out on an opportunity to reconnect. And finally, you can also stay up to date with the latest events, workshops, and job opportunities in the co-living community. So sign up today, discover your next co-living, and join a global network of Colivers.
Sorry,
Definitely.
promotion is done.
No, but really, like Mapmelon, it's what I use personally whenever I'm looking for inspiration for a co-living
Yeah,
space.
me too, totally. Yeah, because so many people they plaster the name co-living. This is a co-living, and it's not really. There's no host or there's no person who really creates this community. So I think that's why your role is so important. Because if I wanted no community, I would go to a hotel or something like this.
What I hear all the time is like, oh, co-livings are hostels with a co-working space. I'm like, no,
No.
not quite yet.
So if you had to define co-living, or what does co-living mean to you, what would you say?
To me, co-living is about it's about sharing life. It's about sharing a space, but it's mostly about sharing life while working and while having fun doing it. Today, a co-living space for me, like the criteria I always give to people when people are asking me about what to look for in a co-living, always telling them, for me, co-living is a place where you don't feel like you need to close your door with a key. You don't need to lock the doors. You know everyone by name and you feel like you can be as comfortable as you would be in, I don't know, your parents' living room or something like that. Like somewhere where you can feel that you can truly be yourself and you can still live your life while sharing part of it with others. But in terms of, so these are more the things that you cannot really check the box or looking on a website, right? You cannot go on Mapmelon and see and check, can do I have to lock my door? Will I feel comfortable enough like this? But what you can look
Yeah.
into.
With these 5 pictures they have on the website, I know this is a co-living. No,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
something. It's difficult to define because it's not something visual, right?
Exactly. There are some boxes you can check, which are for me the minimum stay you need. If minimum stays are under 2 weeks, generally it means that the community will be changing a lot, which is not the best for co-living. You can look for the number of people, the group size. If it's not mentioned, or if it's over 50 people, then it's probably, or if even over 25, it's probably not a destination co-living for nomads, right? It's probably more something that is for long-term residents. Or then if it's 50 people, is it divided in like smaller groups, smaller communities, and then it can work, but not always. Looking into, is there a co-created calendar, is there a host community manager, is there, what are the values of the place, because usually a co-living will have this as a very important thing, right? This is our identity, this is our values, this is what we want to put behind the co-living, which a hotel or a hostel would maybe not prioritize. All these things are criteria that we can look for to see a independently owned, community focused co-living, I would say.
What do you think are the best 3 tips when managing a co-living?
First, yes, don't forget rituals. It's not really about managing, but in terms of community, don't forget rituals. They are the things that matter the most to people, which are, it can be food, like family dinners and brunches and breakfasts and things like that. It can be around activities. Each Monday we do this, each Saturday we do this. It can be around the most little things, which are, I garden every Thursday, come help me. Things like that. Like those kind of rituals for me are really what builds the soul of a place. And this is something that is not about managing, but it is about fostering the community for sure. Another tip for co-living and community management would be to never let a conflict unresolved, in the sense that in a community, uh, some negative energy can spread very fast in a community. So if there is an issue, we have to try to deal with it as early as possible, because it doesn't become an issue if it's dealt with, if we talk about it, if everyone is open about it, then it cannot amplify and become a real issue that is threatening the community. It has happened to me, it has happened in Chateau, it happens probably in every space. And usually, what makes it an issue is because we didn't talk about it fast enough. No, it's usually, yeah, it's usually about really facing the issue, because it's all about emotions. People are, it's always about something that triggers emotion at the end of the day.
And your last tip, you gave me
The
two.
last tip, yeah, the last tip will be live writing. I have to think about it. You can write it in the description.
Yeah, we'll put your social so you can give us the last tip
Perfect.
if we pay a subscription to to your website or something, no? And we talked about the best tips, no, and the best things you can do for managing a co-living. But as a community manager, what do you think is the common mistakes that people make?
I would say that this second tip about conflict is really a common thing. I would also say that not giving a lot of thought to your onboarding process. Like the onboarding is one of the most important thing we can do to make sure that Colivers, yeah, have the best of times and the best of experience. Because there is nothing worse as a first time Coliver arriving in a place and not knowing what where to go, what to do, what are the next events, who are the people, and all these things. Like we have a very thorough process now for checking um, that we keep updating regularly depending on what people tell us, and it can feel like a lot of information for people, but we always take the time now to explain everything, give all the rules, what's happening, what's going on in the house, and then sit down with each and every one of the guests, asking them their expectations, to read through what they have to read through, which is a Notion page in Chateau that explains you a
Oh,
lot of the
really
things you might
notion.
know from. Me too. It's the best kind of tool. So we encourage people to read it with us so that they can answer, like we can answer questions and make sure that nothing is forgotten or that can spoil the experience.
Yeah, I think it's important when you go because there's many people, right? And you of course don't want to forget their names. It's inevitable. But a place where you can check the names of the people is always helpful. And for example, I
Yes.
remember in Nine Coliving, when you go there, they take a picture of you. I thought in the beginning it was in case I went missing or something, so they could report it to the police. But no, it's just they have a wall with the people there and with their names, and it's so nice because if you forget a name, you go there and you check it out
Definitely.
quickly.
This trick
So
and the Slack picture trick. Oh, let me check the Slack or the WhatsApp
oh,
picture.
the Slack and WhatsApp, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I wanted no, since I'm a very digital guy and I like these tools and things like that. Um, what are some digital tools you use to create in a community? I think you mentioned Slack, but have you
Yes.
considered others like Discord or now with the WhatsApp and Telegram communities?
Yeah, I think Slack it's what we use. It's what is used in a lot of places. We It's been picked because Slack allows multiple channels and WhatsApp gets super confusing for me. WhatsApp groups. I mean, so many community like expats or things like that. Community WhatsApp. It's very hard to find
Yeah, no,
information.
it's too much. Yeah, yeah. Now they
Yes.
have WhatsApp communities where each channel it's a group,
Yes.
so you can go into each group. I don't know if that will work in long scale. I've been to a co-living in Malta, Evolve Co-living, and we were trying to play with the idea because they wanted to go on this side.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think anything can work now. The most important
Anything
thing
can
is
work.
the
Yeah.
yeah.
It's the thought and the effort you put into it, the consistency, how much it's used, to make sure to enforce the use of it, and also how you explain it to people. Because Slack, for example, it's a tool. Maybe people use it for work. I mean, I know I've used it for in companies before, so I knew how it worked. But someone that just arrived that has never used it, it's not the most it's pretty easy to use, but it takes a bit of time to get used to it, which goes back to the minimum stay, right? Why would you, if you stay a few days or a week, why would you get into the effort to like know how the tool work, get
Yeah.
used to it and everything? And it's like
Noted. Totally true. I think the important bits from a tool like this for a community is that they have threads, right, or
yeah,
channels, and that you can also pin messages. No, sometimes
yeah.
I've been in several co-livings where we will plan for the whole week, right? And oh, Monday we do this, Tuesday. So somewhere where you can go back to that and check. Oh, today we have that. Um, have you considered any other tools, for example, calendar, or I don't know how you usually do it?
Yeah, we used to use a Google Agenda, and now we do that exactly. So every Monday we have a family meeting, which is everyone gather and we co-create the agenda for the week. We post the recap of everything that we talked about, and now what the big difference this year, and that's something I'm very happy about and proud about, is that before it was we were talking and brainstorming about what activity are we going to do, and then it was always falling on me or a team member to actually make sure it happened or organize it.
And now it's ChatGPT's tasks, right?
Exactly. AI, we ask everything to AI.
What do we do this week? That's it.
Exactly. Now, the big change is that now for every activity or everything we do, there is someone that assign himself or herself to it. So it's like
Yeah.
Saturday hike,
Yes.
and now I'm like, by who? Tell me. I need to
Yeah.
know who is gonna take care of it, and that has created such a big shift in the way
Yes.
people took into their hands the event and what was happening. We saw crazy things last summer. Someone organized a full-on festival in the castle with like Chateau it was called. It was a really good evening, and they created teams, and I organized that. This team organized that. This team takes care of this. It was a full-on huge event that they organized, and we didn't. I didn't do a thing. I didn't have to do a thing because people were so
You are
involved.
fired, Jan. You are fired.
No, it was amazing to see how it developed and how people were so into involved.
Yeah, I think that's the key part, no? That you provide a framework and the environment so people can easily do these things. And I think it's a great idea to make people responsible of a task, right? And if they need help, of course, they come to you and you help them, right? But if
Yeah,
there's no one pushing, because I feel if your job was to push all these initiatives, they will not be as successful because I think when people identify with an activity or something, they really are more motivated to do it.
yeah, they are there, and they motivate others, and it's kind of a really virtuous circle where like them. If I keep telling, it's like in a company, if it's always the founder, which is in a company would be the boss, for example, that is always telling, we do this, we do this, we do this, or if it comes from the people that work in the company, or and tell their colleague like, hey, we should be doing that, hey, help me with that. It's such a different way. And in co-livings, as host, as community manager, or even as founders, we're part of the family, we're part of the community. There is no level, there is no hierarchy, but there are still different roles, and the role of a Colliver is not the same as a community manager. So if it comes from another Colliver, the way it will be received is completely different. Yeah, and you realize that people love to help, people love to organize, people love to feel empowered to do the things and to actually, yeah, create their own experience in the co-living.
I think I asked you if all colonies need a host. Now I wanted to ask you if all colonies need a community manager.
I would say they can be the same people. They can be the same people. It's if it's a big place, and it happens probably in like residential places or like bigger communities, or where you need different roles. In general, we have someone that is responsible, like that is the host, and then we have someone that is only in charge of community, and then there is someone that is more in charge of the house or of the yoga. We usually a few people in the team for each co-living season, so we differentiate the roles in a way, but it doesn't have to be. as long as there is someone who takes one or these two roles on. But yes, so I guess yes, it's needed. It can be the same person as the host though.
So now you have your job assured, right? You are safe.
Finger crossed.
Okay, yeah, this has been a pleasure talking to you. Yeah, this episode has been powered by Melon. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Okay,
Bye.
nice.
Suza.
Bye.